Get to Bruges, they said in the comments. I didn't even know where Bruges was. It's in Belgium. And here I am just outside London Victoria Coach Station, and I'm about to embark on a little trip into Benelux countries, Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg, but actually just Belgium and the Netherlands. And I've got a one country Interrail pass, and of course that doesn't therefore mean I get a pass day to be either outbound or inbound to the UK. So I was looking for a cheap way to get over from the UK into Belgium, and I think I found it. Flixbus to Bruges. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to get the Flixbus from Victoria Station here, the 0930, and it goes through to Amsterdam, but I'm going to hop off at Bruges because I've been to Bruges before and it's really beautiful. So let's head out and see what Flixbus can do for us, getting us across the channel and into Bruges. Come on then, let's see how it goes. The Grade 2 listed Art Deco Victoria Coach Station, which has stood here since 1932, really is one of those great London transport icons. And inside, although it's been extended and modernised a number of times in its life, the basic design is still doing sterling service. There are 20 gates and Flixbus tends to use the higher numbers. In fact, we're leaving from gate 20 today. I'll compare time and cost a bit later. But it's worth noting here that even though we are travelling to Europe, the gates won't close until just 2 minutes before departure. So before we board, let's have a look at today's route. We'll leave Victoria and then traverse the southeast of London before crossing Kent to the port of Dover. Here, everybody will have customs and passport checks for entry into France, and then we'll hop on the ferry to Calais. Once we're off the ferry, the coach will continue up the French and then Belgian coast until we arrive into Bruges. Now we're timetabled to arrive in Bruges at 17:55, making the overall journey time 7 hours and 25 minutes. Our bus is a 15-year-old VDL Futura with Polish plates. And as we board, the crew are being extremely tough on passengers with excess luggage. After all, this is a budget service and they're very clear at booking about what luggage you must pay excess for. Anyway, due to those luggage discussions, we leave just a little after 9:30. But as we'll see, the schedule is well padded, so this won't be a problem. On a lovely day like this, it's a chance to head out through the London streets to spy some more sights along the way. Crossing the Vauxhall Bridge gives us a chance to see the remarkable Vauxhall bus station, with its 2 massive ski jump roof wings. Now the bus station is under threat of demolition, which I think is a crying shame. After Vauxhall, next up is a lap around the Elephant and Castle, and soon we pick up the A2, known as the Old Kent Road. Now, I once built a house down here for £50, which, with some more investment, was soon a hotel. Through New Cross, we pass under the DLR and head on towards Kent over Blackheath Common. We are already an hour out of Victoria, so progress has been slow, but things are picking up now. Anyway, I'm fine, just chilling out on the bus. And finally, we've hit the dual carriageway part of the A2 and things can really speed up. Incidentally, there was a man yakking on his phone quite loudly at the start of the ride, and about 30 minutes in, the crew were very firm with him, saying that this was their working area and that he must stop talking or go to the back of the bus to continue the call. You know, I think they had a very good point. As the A2 continues through Ebbsfleet, we pick up the route of a competitor in the shape of Eurostar's HS1 rail line. And as the A2 merges into the M2, road and rail both cross the River Medway at the same point. At the end of the M2, we swing off to pick up the A2 yet again, and I get my first glimpse of Kentish hop fields. And there are more hop fields beyond the roundabout as we speed on past Canterbury. Traffic lights, that means we can't be too far from Dover now. And soon at the next roundabout there's a vehicle ferry sign. But then suddenly it looks like there's a lot of traffic indeed. Still, our driver edges us forward, and then it's just a case of sitting and waiting. It turns out that this was actually roadworks with a contraflow. I'm actually very pleased we aren't going the other way. And there it is, Dover Port in all its glory. It certainly is a big facility. I'm also intrigued to know what the process will be for getting us through passport control and customs and then onto the ship. And what happens is a person in a control cabin sends us to a particular passport control point. There we all disembark and our passports are checked and stamped for entry into France and the EU. And whilst we do that, the customs check the bus and the luggage. After that we join the ferry company specific queue so the coach can be checked in. Now we have just 2 crew and 18 passengers today. Our crew are given the lane number and we're allocated a departure time for the ferry, and then we're off to find that lane. Now I must admit I'm not best pleased to find we'll be on P&O. I'm not a big fan of their labour relations. However, Flixbus doesn't give any indication of the ferry carrier when you book your ticket. We now have some time to go and get a coffee and maybe use a proper toilet. Now, there doesn't have to be a coach loo review on this run, as each leg was short enough for me to avoid that dubious pleasure. The service area is quite adequate for the wait, and upstairs you can also look out and see the ferries coming and going. And look, here's our ferry on its incoming service. So as P&O Liberté backs in to Dover 8 dock, I'm guessing that's probably our ferry. We arrived here at 10 minutes past 12 onto the dock here after going very, very smoothly through customs and passport checks. And yeah, we're on the 1340, so there's an hour and a half before our ship sails. So our drivers have told us to be back at the bus for 1 o'clock, and then we'll be loading up and ready for the ship to depart at 1340. So that gives a good while here, so I'm going to enjoy a cup of tea and a little wander around and a bit of fresh air. And then, well, at 1 o'clock we should get back on the bus and get loaded. Well, on the channel I've done a few ferries and out of places like Portsmouth and Newhaven, and no doubt I'll do Brittany ferries out of Plymouth as well. And I suppose the one thing you feel here at Dover is this is industrial scale ferrying. It's just on a whole new level when you see parked up out there the rows and rows and rows of trucks waiting to load. It really is, it's just a whole new ball game. Still, once we're on the ferry, it should just be the same thing. Hopefully there's a good bit of deck space up there that we can enjoy view of the sea and, yeah, chug across to France. I decided to eat the sandwich that I'd bought in London, and somebody wanted to share it. The Liberté is one of these modern ferries that has a bridge at both ends, so it doesn't ever need to turn at the port. Neat. I'm pleased to say that all 20 of us are on the bus before 1 p.m, and so we head out over the boarding bridge and into the belly of the ship. It's not a busy crossing, and so all that happens very quickly. And I'm pleased to see we are pretty much on the front of the grid for a fast departure at Calais. We leave the coach, taking all our valuables with us, and head up onto the passenger decks for this roughly 90-minute sailing. Okay, let's get up the stairs and see if we can find a sun deck. Right, took a bit of finding, but made it to the outside deck. Oh, these are nice. Mind you, you get a wet bottom today if you sat on one of those. But nevertheless, this is lovely. So there's some outside deck space above me, but I think that's connected to the club lounge, and this is definitely a budget trip, no club lounge this time. In the meantime, I'm just staring out at the white cliffs of Dover. They're just taking on the last few stragglers, but as you can see, we are very lightly loaded, and I'm sure the ship will get away on time. And the DFDS service from Calais is backing in spot on time at 13:20. I note that the DFDS ship is registered in Le Havre, whilst our P&O ship has more of a flag of convenience registered in Cyprus. The ramp is lifted, the gates are shut, and we're on our way early at 13:30. As the Liberté is billed as a hybrid, I reckon we are leaving the port on electric power, but it's very hard to tell with the sound of all the water sloshing. Anyway, there's no need to turn around as we steam, or at least electric, straight out of the outer harbour. Incidentally, it says on Wikipedia that the double-ended design saves about 2 minutes at each port. That time gain seems hardly enough to warrant all the extra hardware, but who am I to judge? Do let me know in the comments. Anyway, there seems to be ample deck space, especially given that the sailing time is only about 1 hour and 35 minutes. So passengers are never actually going to be on the ship for very long. Anyway, let's get inside and look at the passenger accommodation. We'll start on deck 8, where there's a pleasant curved lounge on both sides of what they call the food market. Kind of think pret-a-manger, but more expensive. And as you've seen, there's also coffee machines, which will be handy when it's very busy, and also other games machines designed to maybe extract some of mum and dad's money. Now, the other end of deck 8 is very much more adult. It has fruit machines, a Costa coffee bar, and generally more lounge type accommodation. Also from here there's access to what are now the forward decks on this run. Yes, the decor at this end is definitely far more adult. Also, this part of deck 8 has the kids zone, which actually had kids in it, so no pictures, and also customer services. And finally, at what is the stern on this run is a large shop, which is full of, you know, the usual alcohol, cigarettes, and general tat. Deck 9 features the ticketed club lounge. Now, it costs £29, which does seem a lot, but it does include a main meal and all other food and drinks, including alcohol. So, even in 90 minutes, I think a determined passenger could rinse the value out of that. I think the quiet lounge could prove to be a winner during school holidays, and these reclining seats are pretty comfortable. They also come with a small table and USB charging. You know, I think I'll enjoy 10 minutes to myself before we continue the tour. The Deck 9 eatery is just called The Kitchen, and it has a Burger King style ordering system for hot food. And at the end is the entrance to the pet lounge, which also has its own dedicated outdoor area too. Oh, and Ship of the Future? Well, it has a very present-day problem on the screens, and it's not just one screen either. As this is such a short crossing, by the time I get back on deck, we're already on the approach to Calais. This has been a pleasant crossing and also a very nice break from sitting on the bus. Indeed, the nature of this service means you never feel like you've been stuck on the bus for a long stretch. Once we get back on the road, it will take just 90 more minutes to get me to Bruges. And as we arrive across the way is another ship on the route for DFDS. Anyway, it's time I went downstairs to rejoin the Flixbus for the final leg to Bruges. Once again, I'm pleased to note that we haven't lost any of our passengers on the ship, and we'll be ready to leave just as the doors open. Because everybody completed all the French passport control and customs at Dover, the bus is free to drive straight off and hit the motorway. Of course, as you'd expect, there's an awful lot of security fencing around the port and its feeder roads. Once we're past the rail yards, we can lose the fences. Oh, and here's the home ground for RC Calais. Now that's pretty big ground for a French 5th tier football club. Now we are clear of Calais, the coach must just merge onto the A16 motorway for what will hopefully be a clear run into Belgium. So as we speed along, let's have a look at my seat. Legroom is pretty tight, but it's fine for me and I've not got a problem. And in front there's also an elastic pouch to put things in that you'll forget. Now this is the first time I've opened the tray table today, and oh, this has to be the first black mark for an otherwise excellent crew. The USB power has been constant throughout, and the lady across the way is demonstrating the seat's generous recline. Yep, it's been a comfortable ride, helped a lot by there being just 18 passengers. And soon we're passing Dunkirk. Now Dunkirk is another busy port, with DFDS providing many services to and from Dover. There's also extensive rail yards here associated with the port, and also many rolls of steel from the adjacent steelworks. And as we're tracking south of Dunkirk, we pass over the railway line to Lille. I missed the sign for Belgium, but here's the one for Flanders. And so we have entered Belgium. Now we're near the end of the trip, let's compare this journey with Eurostar. My trip started in central London at 9:30 and is scheduled to end in Bruges at 17:55, giving a total travel time of about 7.5 hours, which cost me just £24.99, although I did add £17.99 to ride neighbour free, which frankly I suggest you wouldn't need. And by the way, I think the best price has now risen to £30.99. Of course, Flixbus aren't immune to demand pricing, so that basic price can rise, but in general, booking a seat a month in advance, you can get a seat for £30.99. If we left on the 11:04 Eurostar, we'd have to check in at around 10 AM. Now that would get us into Brussels at 14:05, and an onward train from there would get us into Bruges on or before 1600. Total travel time being about 5 hours. Now the cost through on Eurostar can vary wildly, and you can rarely get a seat on the 11:04 for under £100. In the end, what is getting to Bruges 2.5 hours quicker worth to you? The coach pulls up at the stop just to the southwest of the main railway station. And it turns out that I'm the only passenger that's not going on to Amsterdam today. And as you can see, there's a healthy number of passengers making the journey from Bruges to Amsterdam this evening. So I won't be hanging around to wave the bus goodbye. For me, it'll just be a short walk to and through the station to the Ibis Budget Hotel that's just on the other side of the tracks. So here I am in my basic but functional room at the Ibis Budget, just next to the railway station here in Bruges. So what do you think of that then, London to Bruges? I paid a bit extra for the extra seat, but frankly it was just kind of £24.99. Roughly £25 gets you from London to Bruges seamlessly, or at least with a few seams. But all the seams all joined together, didn't they? Very quick getting on the bus, very good run down to Dover. The passport checks and customs went like a breeze. Then we had over an hour to wait before the bus actually could get onto the ferry, but you got to accept that's just when the ferry's due to depart. Then ferry ride, very painless, straight on the motorway and down to Bruges. So here we are. Yeah, pretty good. And downsides, well, blatantly it takes a bit longer, but I'm not sure how much longer, so hopefully VoiceOver Man's been giving you a bit of the gen on if you went by a different route to Bruges, like catching Eurostar or whatever, and you left about the same time, where would you be now? How quickly could you have got to Bruges, and how much would you have paid? Well, for me now, I'm looking forward to getting myself together and then getting out and enjoying the ancient city of Bruges. And if you've enjoyed this video, then do consider liking and subscribing. Also, if you've really enjoyed it, maybe even consider becoming a channel member, because then you could have got to see this video earlier than everybody else, and also taster videos of trips that I've done even before the final edited video comes out. And as an extra bonus, channel members also get posts showing where I am more in real time. So yeah, if that sounds like something you'd like, then do consider becoming a member. But in the meantime, from the Budget Ibis here in Bruges, I'll just bid you a goodbye and thank you so much for watching.